What's up, Exiles? It's Gemini and the long-awaited build guide for Heginem, which is my evasion, acro, ondars, block-based flicker striker. Hardcore viable. I did this guy on Rampage because it just made sense. The nature of flicker strike is kill and go and pour it on top of the mobs. And I thought it was a very, very good choice because it allowed me to continue to carry over my Rampage buffs to the next pack. And all around, it's been a lot of fun. I wanted to go over some of the highlights, starting with the gear. This was a crafted dagger. You can obviously get a lot better, but the new meta crafting made this ambusher very, very, very good. You want to stress on the importance of critical strike chance local to the weapon and the flat physical. The attack speed is nice, but it helps with things more like whirling blades and things like that. We're looking at this helmet. This helmet was actually a huge gem. I actually bought this for around 12 chaos, and then which I think was a steal, and then I enhanced it with additional percent evasion, making it an all-around amazing tri-res with max chaos res and max life. The Perennis buckler, nothing special. I corrupted it. It's 3-linked. However, I do wish that this wasn't actually a red gem. My links aren't set up, with the most optimal setup. I just went with what I had, and unfortunately red green was as many chromes as I wanted to put into it. I was hoping that by valuing it I would make this a prismatic socket or making multiple gem slots white, but instead it got chaos resistance, which isn't horrible. Using a lightning coil. I was using tabula rasa up until level 80-ish, and I switched to the lightning coil because it offers an evasion based character that extra physical resistance, especially against like EK or physical spiking rain, or anything that just can't be really mitigated. Bear trap, also fizz reflect. We'll talk about the layers of defense. Shadows and dust was a good supplement, and it also provides that smoke cloud upon Rampage. Gives you that hidden defense. These are like the new age Malagaros for Rampage. Very, very cool. Gets that extra mana leech to help sustain more attacks. Then we have a series step. I actually bought these for like 5 chaos. They were super, super cheap. It cost me next to nothing. I just had to jeweler it, link it, couple chaos worth of fusings, and chrome it. Let's go into this necklace. Provides me pretty much everything that I need. I wish it had crit multiplier. The resistor stronger, the life was stronger. For prefix, I would have preferred either flat fizz would have been nice. Mana leech would have been nice. Things like that. This ring is nothing special. Just life, mana, 1 res, and then crafted res. This ring is pretty good. Life, mana, rarity, cold res, and lightning resistance. Pretty decent. All around. These are all self-crafted. That was self-crafted. This belt I actually bought from Gouda. He sold it to me for, he didn't even know it was me, but he gave it to me for 6 chaos. That's what he wanted. I think it's personally worth a lot more than that, but it was a steal of a deal in my opinion. Rumi's concoction. Although I'm an evasion based character and I do have acrobatics, if you take a look at acrobatics, it halves your armor, and so when I actually pop this, I don't even get the full 3000 armor. I actually only get about 50 defense armor 1863. So you can see I don't get much armor, but the bread and butter portion of this is the actual on use. It does block at me well over, and it gives me spell block, which is important when I'm going into this the overall tankiness of this character. Your typical Seething of Divine Staunching Flask. It's one of my favorite potions these days. Panicked. I use this one because I tended to go, reply or ID an item, and I use Blood Rage. And Blood Rage does degen my life substantially, and just sitting there AFKing, IDing stuff or replying, making trades, it was taking a toll on my life. So by using the Panic Flask, I let myself get to low life, and then I just hit the potion and it would fill up really substantially. As far as the choice of Quicksilver Flask, I would rather have ample of warding, but I didn't get to choose at this point. I was using Blood Dance for a little bit, and I was using Tabula Rasa, but I ended up finding out that I didn't need either. And overall, Lightning Coil provided me more evasion and that physical mitigation, also extra lightning damage. I'm not running Purity of Lightning because I don't need to. Despite the drawbacks of Lightning Coil, I'm still able to cap out. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the defensive nodes. Now that we have, Hatred, Herald of Ice, obviously inherently defensive, just with the cold damage and the critting, the shattering, the chilling, and the freezing. Armorless character, nearly armorless, especially with the flask. But we have great evasion. You could also, opt to run Grace instead of these two heralds. It's also an option, or Hatred or Grace instead of Hatred. I don't recommend it over Hatred, but I do recommend if you want to go super evasive, you can replace the heralds easily as a supplement. But I do have 36% chance to evade, double that with Onder's Guile for projectile attacks. So 72. I have 40% chance to dodge, 46% spell dodge. That is one of the kickers. Life regen, it's pretty decent, 46.6. I mean, for not having Blood Dance and other regen nodes, I took what I could get on the passive skill tree. Mainly, I think that's the Soul Heart of Oak doing that regen, and the amount of plus XP or HP, sorry. Attack block 58. Now if my jewelry was better, I could probably run a Last War, but that would also lower my HP but substantially increase my spell block. Stun avoidance 30% thanks to Heart of Oak. And movement speed, this is overall a pretty fast character in general, but we're gonna go ahead and see some of this in action. The reason why I'm able to use Flicker Strike continuously, in rapid succession, is because I run Blood Rage. Every time I get a kill, I get a Frenzy Charge, and you can bypass the cooldown of Flicker Strike with extra Frenzy Charges. Also, I use Val Grace for when I'm going to kill a boss that does substantial damage. I get 33% spell dodge, so it's pretty much going to cap me in spell dodge. You can get up to 75%. So my passive, what was it, 46? Passive 46% spell dodge. With the Val Grace, I'm spell dodge capped. It's going to be very unlikely that I'll be hit by something. So it's a very nice cooldown. You want to kind of set this up because it only lasts a certain 6 seconds. I don't have any increased duration attached to it. My gem setup could be more optimal. So we have reduced mana, Purity of Elements, Herald of Ash, and Hatred. Purity of Elements doesn't even really need to be there, but I do run those sometimes on LA weak maps, especially with Zaina's quest. For Flicker Strike, I have melee physical, Flicker Strike, crit damage, multi-strike, and melee splash. And for the 6th link in the Tabula, I was using additional accuracy because it doesn't have a mana multiplier on it, and it actually increased the consistency at which I leeched and got mana back And it also gave me bonus crit chance, so additional accuracy is a good choice. If you don't want to use additional accuracy, you can almost opt to use melee damage on full life, but that is another multiplier, 130%. Or you could use power charge on crit if you want to go power charge route. But this is a pretty budget character. I've been flicker striking since level 32, and it's definitely sustainable. Just blood raging. Main thing is you can't really go AFK with blood rage. You will end up killing yourself. But overall, this character was very, very efficient and very, very tanky. So we're gonna run this waste pull, a lot of chaos damage, exiles, and you're gonna see how it fares against different elements. So for leech, all I have is the leech node up here, blood drinker, and blood rage. That's it. I have deflection, I have a couple energy frenzy charges, and what frenzy charges does for this build is it gives you more single target DPS, more uptime on a rare or something with substantial HP. Allows you to flicker continuously and take him down. Without frenzy charges, you're gonna have to just build up frenzy charges manually. I have it on a 2-link with faster attacks, so just literally, I rarely have to do this, but sometimes, like when I'm fighting a boss and there's no ads, I'll just poke the boss a couple times with a couple frenzy punches and then flicker on him again. Enduring Cry is paired up with Echo because I have a cast and damage taken Immortal Call. So whenever I do find a reflect pack, I just Echo and Enduring Cry, get full charges, and exchange those charges for duration on my Immortal Call. Assassin's Mark is the crit choice. It also can give me power charges on a chance to give me power charges on kill. Increased duration blood rage, that's just like a standard blood rage thing. Lightning warp, whirling blades, herald of ice, reduced mana. I ran out of links here and I didn't really want to rechrome. This actually should be up here, but I was just trying to save currency. And Valgrace is by itself, but overall could run a more ideal setup, but I just want to show you the overall function of this character. It's very, very, very good. You may start out with a couple punches, but once you get that kill, you can just see it's just rapid killing. It's very, very volatile and has very, very good clear speeds. It's very, very convenient to play. There's not many weaknesses to this build. I would say if anything it'd be like Megara, but even then I've killed her many times on this character. You just use Valgrace. If you miss out your window or do not plan your cooldowns, you can also use Whirling Blades also to get frenzy charges. Whirling Blades does do substantial damage. That way you don't have to sit there and eat projectiles to the face while you're trying to use frenzy. You could just keep whirling blades through enemy targets. And there you can see Valgrace. But the nature of its defense gets enhanced just because of the gem Flicker Strike. It's constantly moving. It makes you very, very hard to hit and focus fire. But I've had relative ease in clearing a bunch of maps. Very few close call deaths. Now we're gonna fight a bunch of exiles in this map, so I'm guessing at least 2, probably 3. But you can see just punch a few times, get your flicker going. Once you get that first kill, it's pretty much smooth sailing. Take your frenzy charges into the next pack. Hopefully I didn't land a kill. So whenever you're without frenzy charges, it would behoove you to cast crit weakness so that your initial first few hits will allow that chain reaction of flicker striking. It also net you some power charges to hit really hard and crit reliably. My crit chance is let's see, what is it? Flicker 57.4%. I have 76% accuracy. I had a lot more. I think I had like a little over 91 with the additional accuracy gem. but even without the accuracy, it's still ridiculously good. Let's continue over the zombie areas. We're bound to run into at least one of the exiles very soon. And if I can only imagine what this would be like if I added spell block. Now, people ask me all the time, how do you just one-shot yourself to reflect? No, my defenses are set up in a way where I have a lot of reliable block, evasion, and anything that does go through that will have to go through my lightning coil and my Val Grace. Or my Immortal Call, which wouldn't happen anyways. I run double reflect, and nope, it's no problem. Especially with Rumi's concoction will block at me. It's very unlikely that I will take a hit, and if I do, I can't kill myself because I have other measures, Immortal Call, and lots and lots of dodge. So you can pretty much see I really don't use potions reactively for damage. My healing, once I start flickering, my healing is pretty insane. I just use the potions to deal with the blood rage portion, the drawback. Alright, so we have one exile here. I'm gonna echo an enduring cry, and pretty much he has no chance. I just obliterate them. I haven't run into an exile that has given me a hard time, really. There's another exile. He's gonna get demolished. Very, very fun build. Very, very potent. Yes, it is hardcore viable. It just takes a little bit more care when you're gearing him up. Make sure you keep up with your block chance as your damage goes up. Make sure you have those things like, you know, lightning coil, spell echo, enduring cry, and things like that. Let's check out what this is all about. Lightning storm, curse, echo. Alright, nothing really good there. This boss is quite annoying for a lot of classes and a lot of characters. Not so annoying with Val Grace and this much spell dodge. And I will also pop my Rumi's concoction so I can hope to avoid the Arctic Breath. Alright, so we're getting closer. That's another exile. He has a Cycloner, so I am going to put up the Immortal Call. Alright, he Glacial Hammered me. I'm going in with full charges. Usually it's much better to take care of the trash before you go for the boss, before you Val Grace. But even then, the boss doesn't know what to do and he just gets obliterated. So hopefully that gets you to understand how well this build works and how efficient it is in taking damage. And if for whatever reason you need to stop the degen, all you do is pull out the gem or pull out the piece of gear that the blood rage is in, and no problem. Your blood rage goes away and you start healing up slowly. As far as stat distribution, you definitely struggle with the intellect and strength portion, but you only need 108 to get your stuff to max for the most part. I don't think there's any gem that I particularly use that goes over this. Well, maybe Enduring Cry would probably go over, but with only 3 endurance charges and an echo on the Enduring Cry, it's very easy to get max charges with 1 global. So I think I'm okay with that. Don't really need to stress the strength. I do get accuracy, attack speed here, a lot of hybrid life evasion wheels. Attack speed here, Heart of Oak, Primal Spirit. I did pick up a lot more mana nodes just because I liked having that mana regen, since my accuracy was kind of bad with the 5-link and I was missing a lot. I would often go and then my Flicker Striker would just stay still in the middle of a pack, which is a bad case for a Flicker Striker. You always want to be moving because you'll most likely avoid a lot of melee and projectile damage. So I ended up picking up Soul Siphon, Mind Drinker, and Primal Spirit. All this stuff, you know, can go away as gear gets better. You can spec out of it. But I picked up the bread and butter dagger nodes, flaying, adder's touch, night stalker. That's like pretty much godly dagger nodes, and then I just focused more on the crit multiplier through Heartseeker, got Ondars, and eventually the tree would go over this way, up and over to Sentinel, pick up Constitution if I was going to take it higher. These frenzy charges aren't really needed. Like I said, adding extra frenzy charges is just more a luxury. Helps you your single target damage, you know, sustaining it. But it really sometimes is wasted. Survivalist is something that I had because I needed the all res, but as gear gets better you can actually opt out of these points. I feel like these are mandatory. All this stuff in here is pretty much mandatory, with maybe I would probably still keep Primal Spirit because it does help with the strength. Thick Skin, that's pretty much mandatory. Everything in here outside of Soul Siphon and that mana node is mandatory. And this is just an extra life wheel to help you get by. But overall, super fun, effective build. If you guys watched me do high level maps, it's very successful. I had a blast leveling it. This is hardcore viable, and I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. I'll continue to do more with my other characters, and feel free to hit the like button and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys later.